folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Gershon, and this is Volume 8 of my horror film collection. Let's get into it, shall we? This is Alien, absolute classic. My favorite sci-fi horror film of all time, and this is the Blu-ray release. Excellent release. Couldn't wait to get it. Absolutely love it. And the film looks so great. And we got the Blu-ray release of Aliens, of course, the excellent sequel from James Cameron. And we got Alien 3, the less than stellar sequel. And we got Alien vs. Predator, which is just a fun film. It's like turn your brain off and just watch the carnage. And same thing with Alien Resurrection. I just think it's a lot of fun, but it was still great to have Sigourney Weaver back as Ripley, even if she is like a clone or whatever. It's such a fun film. You got Ron Perlman in there. Yeah, it doesn't live up to the first two by any means, but it's just a lot of fun. Now we're getting into the Italian horror and giallos. You got Blood and Black Lace from Maria Bava. Absolutely one of my favorite giallo films of all time. I think it's just brilliant. It's so colorful and it's amazing. And I feel like Dario Argento basically owes his whole career to this movie because as you see from all Argento's films, you know, it's very similar. And this one is from his son, Lamberto Bava, and it was produced by Dario Argento. Demons, absolute blast. This film is hilarious. It's so much fun. It's just crazy. It's over the top. It's awesome. Another film from Lamberto Bava, and this is a great giallo, Delirium. Very sleazy, but it's also very creepy at the same time. I love how the killer he's so twisted that when he sees his victims, they're just like these monsters. It's very weird and very cool. Great giallo. And here's another giallo film from Mario Bava, Blade in the Dark. Really well done. Definitely in the fashion of Dario Argento, certainly very stylish. Just classic giallo in every way. Nakato Nine Tails. Definitely a very slow giallo film from Dario Argento. Not one of my favorite in his collection, but it is solid for sure. It just has a very, very slow pace to it. And then we have Trauma, which is a fun giallo film from Dario Argento, but I feel like this definitely was kind of the downfall of Dario Argento. He's definitely was sinking into kind of mediocrity at this point. This film, I believe this was the introduction of Asia Argento into his films, if I'm not mistaken. Lots of decapitations. But the funny thing is in Trauma is after people get decapitated, their heads still talk. And then we have the Stendhal Syndrome starring his daughter Asia Argento once again. It's an interesting one. It's got some very weird like scenes with CGI blood and stuff. It's weird. Very bad use of CGI, but other than that, it's kind of classic Argento in a way, because the brutal, savage kills, you know. And this, I feel, is the last great film from Dario Argento. This has all his classic style. It's very stylish, it's very brutal, and it's just a great giallo film. And this was Argento's first giallo, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. It's a great introduction, just classic style giallo in the vein of Mario Bava. And this is probably the one out of all Argento's films that I watched the most. It's very, very watchable. It's got great rewatch factor. It's got some of the best kills in his entire discography. It's nasty. It's definitely as close to an 80s slasher film as you can get with a giallo. Then we got Event Horizon. Really cool horror film in space. I've heard a lot of people say it's like Hellraiser in space, and that's a good way to put it. I would say that's pretty accurate. Starring Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne. Great effects, and it's just crazy. It's a lot of fun. We got the classic Dress to Kill, starring Angie Dickinson. Really good film. Also starring Michael Caine. I'd say this is very close to being a giallo film. It's almost like an American giallo film. Lots of callbacks to Hitchcock and Dario Argento and Mario Bava, big time. Then we got the classic Poltergeist, directed by none other than Tobe Hooper. And of course, produced by Steven Spielberg. We got a really fun 80s classic, almost like a kid's horror movie in the vein of the Goonies style of horror, The Monster Squad. And you got all the classic Universal monsters in there, Dracula, the Wolfman. Wolfman's got nards! You got Frankenstein's monster in there, and they're all together in one film, and it's just a blast. And this is probably one of the wackiest slasher movies you'll ever see. And I was sent this by Sharon from Rusting Willpower, and this is one of her favorite films of all time. And yeah, it's so campy and cheesy and over the top, but it's a lot of fun. And you've got the highly underrated Damien Omen 2. Excellent follow-up to the original. Really enjoy this film. It's very scary. It's got some nasty kills in there. Definitely a very worthy follow-up to the original, which is just a masterpiece, of course. Then we got The Brood. Of course, from David Cronenberg. Very, very messed up movie. That's a perfect way to describe it. It's just messed up, man. It's got one of the worst mothers in horror history. Samantha Eggar's character is just so insane. It's unbelievable. Her dark thoughts and evil thoughts actually manifest into these dwarf creatures, and they're brutal killers. I mean, they just destroy people. It's unbelievable. And the end is like one of the sickest, most twisted endings you'll see in horror history, without a doubt. You can't miss it, guys. And of course, we got nothing but fun. You got the classic Munster Go Home. And that's all the stars of the original Munsters TV series together in this film. And this, of course, is the follow-up, Munsters Revenge. A lot of fun. Then we got the BTK Killer. True life crime story there. And I think this is probably Kane Hodder's best performance. I mean, he does a great job as the serial killer, BTK. Definitely outside of the Friday the 13th franchise, this is my favorite performance by him. Next up we have Jacob's Wife, starring the legendary Barbara Crampton, and one of her finest roles, I think. She's just fantastic in this movie, and this movie's just a blast. It's bloody as hell. Just a great vampire film. I kind of wish Barbara Crampton went a little more evil in this one. She never becomes a full-blown villain, but she's still fantastic in this movie. Then we got The Great Trancers, yes, one of my favorite sci-fi horror movies of all time. Just a blast from Full Moon Features. Yeah, I love this series. It's just great. You got Trancers, Trancer 2, and Trancers 3 Death Lives on the one package here. And, you can kind of end it there, because once you get into 4 and 5 and 6, it gets pretty rough. So just stop at 3. Then you got John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, one of the most underrated films from John Carpenter. Just a scary film. It's got awesome special effects. And you got Donald Pleasance is amazing here. I love the score in this film. You got Alice Cooper in there. It's a great film. You got Castle Freak, one of the best full moon feature films of all time, starring none other than Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, yes, from Reanimator, and they're both amazing in this film. This is a real wild movie. It's awesome. I love it. You got Killer Clowns from Outer Space, still in my opinion the best clown horror movie. You're never gonna top this. I mean, the clowns are just so damn creepy. This movie's so wacky and weird and creepy. It's just an anomaly. It's an enigma. It's just, I can't even describe it. It's just so out there. It's weird. You got Exorcism from none other than Jess Franco. And what do you get when you get a Jess Franco movie? You can expect plenty of sleaze, yes. He definitely walks the fine line between art house and sleaze, and this is definitely a great example of that. He actually stars in the film, too. Then we got Insidious. It's a great jump scare type ghost movie, yeah. It's very effective, though. I mean, I must admit they did a great job in this film. We got The Descent. Awesome movie. One of the best early 2000s horror films, for sure. Great movie. So scary, and I think a lot of the most scary moments of the film happen before the monsters show up in the cave, all the stuff that leads up to that is even scarier than when the monsters show up. And then last but not least, we have Ed Wood Collection. Yeah, this has all the classics. It's got Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's got Glen or Glenda. It's got Bride of the Monster. A lot of the classic Ed Wood films here. Just so much fun, so campy, so cheesy, but what can you say about Ed Wood? It's just fun, These movies are horrible, they're terrible, but they're just so much fun to watch. That's it, guys. That's volume 8 of my horror movie collection. Thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Urshan, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared. Good evening, folks, and we got some brand new merchandise for you over at www.thehorrorcona.com, and that's CONA.com. Representing the Horror Corner. Great new design. We got the Morbid Hour live stream there, you got the Horror Hangout live stream there, and you got my nemesis, the Dark Fate. So grab your t-shirt over at www.thehorrorcona.com. And we also got this beautiful new mug. Look at that. Very, very cool. Thought that came out really nice. So grab your merchandise today over at www.thehorrorkona.com.